So I really think that the auditors should be paid by the city, and I think that an auditor should follow a cop around, and the auditor has legal prowess, so they could use a camera, and they'll have, advice and be a kind of like buddy system for the cop, and they will have to be trained, you know, to carry, open carry, and they will only be back up in like a worst case situation. And they of course they can't get paid. I don't know, can they get paid the same as a cop? Because the cop goes there, and they could be from a distance. There could be a whole set of criteria for where the auditor is, because the cop has a body cam too. But the auditor could ride along in every car, and a percentage of the cops shouldn't be cops, so those cops could just be trained to be auditors, and then the rest to make up the personnel to be the auditors, to meet the number of cops there is, could be the auditors that exist already, because I really appreciate the auditors, and the fact that they're already hooked up to the legal system to the point where we all have tax numbers and shit, because they could actually write claims right now to the city for many reasons. Like if you get stopped, you could write a claim or a tax deduction to the city and state saying, okay, this much time was spent with your guy, so while he's logging, there's a debt being created on our side, so we have to get paid for our time spent facilitating the police, because I would say 98% of the so-called crimes are victimless crimes that rely on administration stuff, and I'm not talking about economic stuff like theft. And I really appreciate the auditors, because, we get to live free and know that the cops are being watched and being held accountable nowadays, because, there's an eye in the sky, so to speak, and it's us now. Because, the eye in the sky that was them may have been initially there to protect us, but at this point it's been perverted and, converted to suit the needs of negative suitors that are negative against us and negative for the positive points of life. And that's not the kind of balance we need to know what good is. I'm sorry, because that hurts innocent people, and it threatens everybody as a whole. And, it's right in front of our faces, and it's just that this corruption in our house of government and stuff like that. And we need to eradicate the house in the yard, the Garden of Eden in our beautiful, sweet country home. It's been, infested with rats and vermin and stuff, so we need to eradicate that. And, with the politicians, or so-called judges and state's attorneys and stuff like that, and all those people, it goes up and down the line, so, basically, and governors too, but I hear DeSantis is doing good stuff. And, I think that he would have answered the call in my situation, because the governor has a real important job, which is to tell the police what to do. Like the sheriff tells the governor's the top of that. So I wrote Rick Scott, and he was a crappy guy. He didn't respond, and his people in the office were very nasty to me. Any more questions? And I'm like, I sent him a letter. Anyway, whatever. But the auditors allow me to live free. Because I was forced to look at the cops and really understand and make them accountable, or try to make them accountable, to fend for myself. And in doing so, I freed myself, because I stood with the facts, in a situation that shouldn't happen, because the guy stepped over the line, he committed acts of fabrication of physical violence, so fuck that. But the auditors, that's a tribute to them in any way of spirit, to say that thank you for doing what you're doing, because, who watches the cops? Boom. And, like I was considered extreme and stuff, but, by people that, know of me or know me, which is not many, but the thing is like, if they saw what the auditors are doing, they would be like, okay, because I don't spend I'm not committed. I had to be committed for 802 days straight to save myself, and the process and went crazy. And I want to say that anybody that, has problems with thinking about the situations where it creates anxiety and all kind of shit, and you might want to try. Just I hate to say it, but the plant-based diet. I don't hate to say it is really something that I've embraced, and plant-based nutrition, and it has allowed me to focus more than clench up when anxiety hits and those PTSD style symptoms of remembrance and emotional and mood swinging effects due to reliving the situation in your mind that's just not right, where so many justices have been taking place, in which a lot of people are still sitting in jail. And that's why, like, 1,000 mothers should go in front of 1,000 jails, and at the same time, and ask for their non-violent crime, non-victim crime, whatever, to be family members to be released. Just like say, 1,000 people should all go in front of every police station, each with 1,000 bags of weed, and say, all right, we'll start smoking. All right, you're going to have to arrest us all, you hypocritical bastards, with your cigarettes and liquor and prescription pills and coffee and French fries. Get the fuck out of here, Let the people be happy, bastards, and throw anyone out of jail that's been in there for that for years and years. Anyway, that's a different argument, but just in general, you gotta really appreciate the people that are auditing. So I'm glad you're there, and right now I'm getting my life back together, and it's about making lemons make the best lemonade. And South Florida's rough, man. It sucks down there when it comes to just surviving and living, because there's a lot of culture clash, and the police have gotten to the point where there's a stigma on the people of being stereotyped by the police, and they lean on it, and you are guilty until proven innocent in there. And just the lack of seasonal change and the diversified culture that doesn't respect the American ways that are, respecting women and children, that make our country great, so we could all work and feel safe and put our minds toward inventing things instead of, being macho or protecting our kids or taking advantage. Of course every place is like that, but the good part of America, needs to be thought about a little bit more. And then the auditors wouldn't have to be there to the degree they are, because the cops wouldn't be getting crazy. It's just a chain. Nobody's going to make one change, and things are going to happen. And people like Biden and Trump, they don't really represent us as a whole. Obama didn't represent us. He represented other people to the degree that, we lost a lot of pride. Trump gave us pride, and, even though things weren't right. And then Biden, he's just, they're just preparing us for him to take a dive so that the other thing can get in there. And but no matter who's in there, in that house, or in that realm to make decisions that affect us all, when it comes to our civil and constitutional rights, it's in the people's hands, and that's what the auditors are doing here. And that First Amendment auditing, I think there should be Second Amendment auditing, where people that like guns, that are cool and composed, should go out in the street, and they should open carry in groups. Like, okay, let's say there's a lot of police activity in certain areas. Well, why don't a bunch of, like, okay, non-racist white people go hang out in the predominantly non-white neighborhoods, and make sure that white cops ain't beating up people. And why don't black cops speak up against, or is everybody on the take? But regardless, the auditors should be getting inside too. They should be able to get inside them buildings. It's not right that they're not allowed to. It's terrible. And, yeah, and I think that auditors should have a service too. It's like, okay, listen, I'm going to the courthouse, and I'm dealing with my family and stuff, and I need a witness with me. If I had that, I would have won, because they realized after a while that everybody was scared of the cops, thinking I was going to get cut up and fed to the gators by cops. So nobody would be by my side or be a witness at certain points, and people that wanted to really couldn't, So, I got taken advantage of, and corruption was made. Go pull the records and recordings and everything. I dare you. Afraid of the truth. Anyway, so we got to really appreciate the auditors, and they should be able to get inside. They should be paid. They should be on the payroll. They should be trained, because they should be trained to defend themselves against road cops. Because I imagine, the way cops are and the way they feel like they're investigative, even though they don't use binoculars, and give people a chance instead of just run up on scene being assholes. And a lot of times, at least with me and my experience, like they're probably, the auditors need to defend themselves because there's maliciousness, and they've been known to be malicious. Like I should have a restraining order against every cop in the United States because they've been known to get rough with me and create a situation where I was falsely prosecuted. They had to throw it out, so that means I won, right? That means the truth stood, right? That means he was wrong, right? Anyway, if I had an auditor call at that point, I would have fucking got an extra job, dude, just to say, listen, dude, they got me in one court date. I think it was the one day in St. Lucie, and then in Broward one day, and then St. Lucie the next day. 3 in a row. I got to all that traveling in 3 different court dates for 2 cases, and they wouldn't do anything about it because it's what it is, I'm just a little man to them. Peon. Anyway, you really got to shout out to the auditors. There's a lot of things I think auditors could be doing to get paid for their services and expand on their services, and I'm glad they're there. And thanks, guys and girls, men and women. You make me proud to be an American. And together we can make a difference. Not just voting it once every 4 years by pushing a button or paying taxes in a super bracket, but we can make a difference like this, and this is what's important to us all, I think. And you are one facet of our diamond life. Very important one. Thank you very much.